Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every life when we are faced with situations beyond our control. We encounter trials that shake our foundation, disappointments that leave us wondering why, and burdens that feel too heavy to bear. We struggle, we worry, we fight against circumstances, grasping for control, hoping that if we try just a little harder, things will turn in our favor. But my friends, the truth is, there are things in this life that we cannot control, no matter how much we wish we could. You may be facing difficulties today, perhaps a troubled relationship, a financial hardship, or a health crisis that has left you feeling helpless. You may be troubled by the state of the world, uncertain about the future, burdened by the weight of things you cannot change. But I want to tell you this. You do not have to carry that weight. You do not have to live in fear, anxiety, or frustration. You can let go of what you cannot control, and in doing so, you can find a peace that surpasses all understanding. So often we believe that if we could just fix everything ourselves, life would be better. If we could change that person's heart, if we could rewrite the past, if we could force the future to unfold exactly as we desire, then surely we would be happy. But my friends, that is not the way we are meant to live. The more we struggle for control over things that are beyond our power, the more we find ourselves drained, weary, and discouraged. We live in a world that tells us we must always be in control. We are told to take charge of our destiny, to make things happen through our own strength, to force our way forward. But when we try to control everything, we quickly discover that life does not bend to our will. People make their own choices. Circumstances shift unexpectedly. The world is full of uncertainty, and no amount of human effort can change that. Yet despite all this, we are not called to live in fear or despair. We are called to let go, to release our grip on the things that are not ours to control, to surrender the struggles that weigh us down, to trust in something greater than ourselves. Letting go does not mean giving up. It does not mean we stop caring, stop trying, or stop doing what is right. It means we recognize our limits. It means we stop exhausting ourselves, trying to fix what only can be worked out in time. It means we find freedom in knowing that we do not have to carry every burden alone. Think of the burdens you are carrying today, the worries that keep you up at night, the anxieties that grip your heart, the fear of what tomorrow may bring. Now ask yourself, what if you could lay those burdens down? What if you could release the weight of your worries and find peace instead of fear? Letting go requires faith. It requires us to believe that even when we are not in control, we are not alone. That even when life feels uncertain, there is a plan greater than our own. That even when things do not go the way we expect, there is still hope, there is still purpose, and there is still a future. Too many of us live our lives like a clenched fist, holding tightly to things that we were never meant to grasp. But peace comes when we learn to open our hands, to release our worries, to surrender our need for control, and to trust that we are held by something far greater than ourselves. We cannot control the choices of others. We cannot change the past. We cannot see every detail of the future, but we can choose how we respond. We can choose to live in fear, or we can choose to walk in faith. We can choose to cling to worry, or we can choose to let go and embrace peace. My friends, what is it that you need to release today? What is the burden that has been weighing on your heart? What is the fear that has kept you from moving forward? It is time to let go. It is time to trust. It is time to live in the freedom of knowing that you do not have to control everything to find peace. Life is not always easy. There will be trials, there will be hardships, and there will be moments when you feel overwhelmed. But you do not have to carry those burdens alone. You do not have to live in constant worry and stress. You can let go. And in doing so, you can find the peace, the strength, and the hope that you have been searching for. And so I urge you today, do not waste another moment holding on to what you cannot change. Do not let fear and worry steal the joy that is meant to be yours. Instead, release your grip. Let go of what you cannot control and step forward in faith, knowing that you are never alone. You see, my friends, life is like a river. It flows sometimes gently and sometimes with great force, carving its own path through the land. But how often do we find ourselves standing in that river, pushing against the current, exhausting ourselves as we try to force the water to flow in the direction we think is best? We fight against things we cannot change, and in doing so, we grow weary, frustrated, and overwhelmed. But what happens when we stop fighting the current? What happens when we trust that the river knows where it is going? When we surrender our struggle and allow the flow of life to take its course, we find peace. We find rest. We find the freedom that comes with letting go. Some of you today are holding on so tightly to things that are causing you pain. You are carrying burdens that were never meant for you to bear alone. You are dwelling on mistakes from the past, wishing you could change what has already been written. You are worrying about tomorrow, trying to control an outcome that has not yet come to pass. But my friends, you cannot rewrite the past. You cannot control the future. You can only live in this moment. And in this moment, you have a choice to hold on in fear or to let go in faith. Think about the things that you have been holding on to. The pain of a broken relationship, the disappointment of dreams that did not come true, the anxiety of not knowing what the future holds. You may have spent days, months, or even years trying to control these things, trying to force them to work out the way you think they should, but has that struggle brought you peace? Has it filled your heart with joy, or has it left you weary, discouraged, and afraid? Letting go is not a sign of weakness. It is an act of courage. It takes great strength to release what is beyond your control, to surrender the burdens you have carried for so long, and to trust that even when life does not go as planned, there is still a greater purpose unfolding. There is a story of a man who climbed a great mountain, carrying a heavy sack on his back. With each step, the weight grew heavier, slowing him down, making his journey more difficult. He struggled and struggled, refusing to let go of what was in his sack. But when he finally reached the top and opened it, he realized that most of what he had been carrying was unnecessary. He had been holding on to things that only made his journey harder. My friends, how many of us are carrying burdens that we were never meant to bear? How many of us are clinging to things that only weigh us down? Resentment, fear, regret, worry. These things do not serve us. They do not bring us peace. They do not help us move forward, and yet we hold on to them as if they define who we are. But you are not defined by your past mistakes. You are not bound by the things you cannot control. You are free to let go. You are free to walk forward in faith, trusting that even when things do not go as you had hoped, there is still a future ahead full of promise and purpose. The world may tell you that you have to have all the answers, that you have to be in control at all times, that you must fight for every outcome, but the truth is, there is freedom in surrender. There is peace in knowing that you do not have to hold on to everything so tightly. There is joy in releasing your burdens and trusting that you are not alone in your journey. Some of you have been holding on to anger for too long. Someone hurt you and you have carried that pain for years. But I ask you today, what good has it done? Has your anger changed the past? Has it brought you peace? Or has it only caused more pain? Some of you have been worrying about the future, trying to control every possible outcome, living in fear of what tomorrow may bring. But I ask you today, has your worry made tomorrow any more certain? Has it given you peace? Or has it only stolen the joy of today? There comes a moment in each of our lives when we must decide to let go, to release the anger, the fear, the worry, the regret, to trust that even when we are not in control, we are not lost. Even when the path ahead is uncertain, we are not alone. You see, life is not about controlling every detail. It is about learning to walk in faith, even when the way is unclear. It is about trusting that there is a plan greater than our own. It is about finding peace in knowing that we do not have to carry every burden by ourselves. So I ask you today, what is it that you need to let go of? What is the weight that has been pressing on your heart? What is the worry that has stolen your joy? It is time to release it It is time to step forward in faith. It is time to live in the freedom of knowing that you do not have to control everything to find peace. Too often we spend our days grasping at things that were never meant to stay in our hands. We hold on to past mistakes, wishing we could undo what has already been done. We cling to relationships that have run their course, afraid of what life will be like without them. We fight against changes we cannot stop, trying in vain to keep everything the way it used to be. But my friends, life is not meant to be lived with clenched fists. We were not created to live in fear, constantly grasping for control over things that are beyond our power. There is a greater way, a way of trust, of surrender, of letting go. Think about the seasons of life. The trees do not hold on to their leaves forever. They release them in the fall, trusting that new life will come again in the spring. The ocean does not try to stop the waves from coming and going. It moves with the tide, knowing that the rhythm of the sea is beyond its control. The birds do not worry about tomorrow. They rise each day and trust that there will be food, there will be shelter, there will be provision. And yet, we as human beings spend so much of our time trying to control things that were never meant to be controlled. We worry about the future as if our anxiety could change what is to come. We hold on to bitterness as if our anger could undo the past. We live in fear as if our dread could shield us from pain. But all the while, we are missing out on the peace, the joy, and the freedom that come when we learn to let go. I want you to think about the burdens you have been carrying. Maybe it is the guilt of past mistakes. Maybe it is the fear of an uncertain future. Maybe it is the pain of a broken relationship. Whatever it is, I want to ask you, what would happen if you let it go? What would happen if you stopped trying to control the uncontrollable and instead chose to trust? Letting go is not easy. It requires faith. It requires us to believe that even when we do not have the answers, there is a plan. That even when things do not go the way we hope, there is still a purpose. That even when life feels uncertain, we are never truly alone. Some of you have spent years carrying burdens that you were never meant to bear. You have let worry steal your joy. You have let regret keep you from moving forward. You have let fear stop you from stepping into the future with confidence. But my friends, you do not have to live this way any longer. The weight you are carrying today, whatever it may be, is not meant to define you. The things that have happened to you, the struggles you have faced, the uncertainties ahead, they are not meant to be a prison. You have a choice. You can continue to hold on, to struggle, to fight for control that is not yours to have. That's under your control. The good news is, or you can release it. You can surrender your burdens. You can choose to let go. And when you do, you will find something beautiful waiting for you on the other side. You will find peace that the world cannot give. You will find strength that does not come from your own efforts. You will find joy that is not dependent on circumstances. Life is too short to spend it weighed down by things you cannot change. It is too precious to be wasted on worry, on fear, on regret. You are not meant to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You are meant to live in freedom. You are meant to walk in faith. You are meant to let go. So I ask you again, what is it that you need to release today? What is the fear that has held you back? What is the burden that has made your steps heavy? What is the worry that has stolen your peace? My friends, it is time. It is time to open your hands and release what you were never meant to carry. It is time to step forward with trust, knowing that even when you are not in control, you are never alone. It is time to let go. When we finally make the decision to let go, something remarkable happens. The weight we thought we could never live without begins to lift. The fear that once consumed our thoughts starts to fade. The anxiety that robbed us of sleep and peace loses its grip. And in its place, we find something we never expected: freedom. Freedom from the past, freedom from worry, freedom from the need to control every outcome. Too many of us have spent years trapped by things that were never meant to hold us. We have let the pain of yesterday determine how we live today. We have allowed our fear of what might happen tomorrow to keep us from fully embracing the present. But when we let go, we step into the life that we were truly meant to live. A life not controlled by fear, but filled with peace, not defined by regrets, but overflowing with hope. Imagine for a moment a person standing in the middle of a storm. The wind is howling, the rain is pouring down, and they are desperately trying to hold on to everything around them, grasping at tree branches, clinging to whatever they can find, struggling to stay upright. The harder they fight, the more exhausted they become. But then something shifts. They stop resisting. They let go. They surrender to the storm, not in defeat, but in trust, knowing that no storm lasts forever, that the winds will pass, and that peace will come again. My friends, some of you are standing in a storm today. You are fighting to control what is beyond your power. You are grasping at things that are slipping through your fingers. You are exhausting yourself in a battle that was never yours to fight alone. But what if, instead of resisting, you chose to trust? What if, instead of clinging to fear, you chose to let go? Letting go does not mean that life will suddenly be easy. It does not mean that we will never face trials or hardships again. But it does mean that we no longer have to walk through them alone. It means that we can live with a confidence that is not rooted in our ability to control every detail, but in the assurance that there is a greater plan at work. Too often we live our lives like a tightrope walker, carefully balancing, afraid that one wrong move will send us tumbling down. We stress over every decision, worry about every possibility, and try to orchestrate every outcome. But life is not meant to be lived in constant fear of falling. Life is meant to be lived with faith, with trust, with an open heart that is willing to release what cannot be controlled. There will always be things in this life that are uncertain. There will be challenges we do not expect, losses we do not understand, and changes we cannot predict. But uncertainty does not have to lead to fear. When we learn to let go, we discover that even in the unknown, there is still peace. Even in the unanswered questions, there is still hope. Even in the moments when we feel out of control, there is still a purpose unfolding. Some of you have been holding on to resentment. Someone hurt you, and you have carried that pain for far too long. But holding on to bitterness does not heal a wounded heart. It only deepens the pain. What would happen if you let go? If you chose to forgive, not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve peace. Some of you have been holding on to regret. You look back at your life and wish you could undo certain choices, rewrite certain chapters, but no amount of regret can change what has already been written. The past is unchangeable, but the future is still unwritten. What would happen if you let go of the past and stepped forward with hope instead? And some of you have been holding on to worry. You spend your days anxious about what might happen tomorrow, afraid of what the future may hold. But no amount of worry can add a single moment to your life. What would happen if you chose to release that worry, to trust that even in the unknown, you are not alone? Letting go is not a one-time decision. It is a daily choice. Each day we are given the opportunity to surrender our fears, our worries, and our burdens. Each day we are invited to release what we cannot control and to walk in faith instead. And each day when we choose to let go, we find that peace is waiting for us on the other side. My friends, you were never meant to live in fear. You were never meant to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. You were never meant to be defined by worry, regret, or pain. You were meant to live in freedom. You were meant to walk in faith. You were meant to let go. So I ask you again, what is it that you need to release today? What burden have you been carrying for too long? What fear has been keeping you from stepping into the fullness of life? It is time to lay it down. It is time to let go. And when you do, you will find that peace is not something you have to chase. It is something that has been waiting for you all along. When we truly embrace the act of letting go, we step into a life that is not shackled by fear, but filled with peace. We begin to see that the things we once clung to, the regrets, the worries, the need for control, were never serving us in the first place. Instead of living in a state of constant tension, we can breathe deeply, knowing that we are not responsible for holding the entire world together. Think about a traveler on a long journey. At the beginning, their bag is light, filled only with what is necessary. But as the journey continues, they begin picking up things along the way, some valuable, some burdensome. Before they realize it, their load has become heavy, their steps slower, their energy drained. It is only when they make the choice to stop and release what is unnecessary that they can move forward with ease once again. My friends, so many of us are carrying baggage we were never meant to bear. We have collected hurts, disappointments, and expectations that have weighed us down. But we do not have to continue carrying them. We can choose to set them down. We can choose to walk forward unburdened. We can choose to let go. Letting go does not mean giving up. It does not mean that we stop caring about the things that matter. It simply means that we release our grip on the things we were never meant to control. It means trusting that there is a greater plan at work, even when we do not see the full picture. Think about a farmer who plants seeds in his field. He prepares the soil, he sows the seeds, he waters them, but after that he must let go. He cannot force the seeds to grow. He cannot control the rain or the sunlight. He must trust that in due time, the harvest will come. Some of you have been trying to force things to happen in your life. You have been working tirelessly, worrying endlessly, trying to control every detail. But just like the farmer, there comes a point where you must trust. You have done your part. Now it is time to let go and allow the process to unfold as it was meant to. There is peace in surrender. There is rest in knowing that we do not have to have all the answers. There is joy in releasing what is beyond our control and choosing to live fully in the present. Some of you are holding on to a painful past. You replay old mistakes, old wounds, old disappointments. But my friends, the past cannot be changed. No amount of regret can rewrite what has already been written. What you do have control over is today. Will you choose to let go of the past so that you can fully embrace the present? Some of you are paralyzed by fear of the future. You worry about what is coming, about things that have not even happened yet. But my friends, worry does not change the future. It only steals the joy of today. What would happen if you let go of that worry and trusted that whatever comes, you will have the strength to face it? And some of you are clinging to things that no longer serve you. Relationships that have run their course. Dreams that are no longer meant for you. Expectations that are weighing you down. What if instead of holding on out of fear, you chose to release them and make room for what is truly meant for you? Letting go is not a one-time act. It is a daily practice. Each day we must choose to release the things we cannot control. Each day we must surrender our burdens and walk forward in faith. Each day we must trust that even in the unknown there is a greater plan unfolding, and when we do, we will find that life becomes lighter. Our steps become freer, our hearts become more open. We begin to experience the fullness of life, not weighed down by fear and worry, but lifted by faith and trust. So I ask you again, what is it that you need to let go of today? What burden have you been carrying for too long? What fear has been holding you back? My friends, it is time. It is time to open your hands, to release what you were never meant to carry, and to step forward in faith. It is time to let go.